New tonight, legalizing pot. Andrew Yang referencing the iconic series Breaking Bad with the tweet you see there of him surrounded by drugs in a hazmat suit. He did it to highlight his support for legalizing marijuana. Now, the tweet after these comments about marijuana by one of the Democratic frontrunners for 2020. Here's Joe Biden.
The truth of the matter is, there's not nearly been enough evidence that has been acquired as to whether or not it is a gateway drug. It's a debate, and I want a lot more, before I legalize it nationally, I want to make sure we know a lot more about the science behind it.
Out front now, Democratic candidate for president, Andrew Yang. So, Andrew, you think marijuana should be legalized nationwide, and you hear Joe Biden, he says he wants more evidence. He's concerned it could be a gateway drug. Are you sure Biden is wrong?
Yeah, most Americans agree that we should be legalizing marijuana at the federal level, in part because it's already legal in several states. Many Americans are already using it for pain relief, and it's safer than prescription opiates in most every case. We also know that when we administer these marijuana laws, we're deeply uneven and even racist in the way we administer these laws. So most Americans agree that we should legalize marijuana, and that's where I am. I believe that Joe actually will end up evolving on this issue over time if he sees the same evidence that I have.
So on that front, there are a lot of confusing studies on pot, as we all know, right? You've got, cannabis-related ER visits in Colorado tripled since it was legalized, but then another one saying essentially no impact on violent crime in Colorado or Washington. So, you can get different outcomes depending on which study you look at. What makes you so sure, really fundamentally, Andrew, that full legalization won't open the door to a Pandora's box we may deeply regret, just because there's a lot we don't know?
Well, Aaron, there's a difference between legalization and complete lack of regulation. I mean, there are legal substances in this country like tobacco that there are strict rules around. For example, you can't advertise on school grounds. So marijuana is not something that we should just have out there completely free and easy, but it should be legal so that we can regulate it properly, make it safer and more standard for Americans, and also have some of the tax revenues that can help us counteract any of the negative effects.
So, in addition to marijuana, you obviously are at odds with some others, different others in the primary. On another issue, Senators Sanders and Warren are in favor of a wealth tax, which you have said could be, your words, a disaster in practice. Obviously, some who would be affected by it have been speaking out. They say they're being vilified, which has led to these comments from Senator Sanders and Senator Warren. Here they are.
I just want to point out to you all, you may have noticed I hurt some billionaires' feelings recently. Boo-hoo. So sad that they might have to pay 2 cents out of their bazillion dollars.
They're worth $100 billion, they're worth $50 billion, and suddenly they're in tears. Oh my God, we're going to have to pay more in taxes. How do we get by on $30 billion? Such a stress.
Of course, it's more complicated than that. Do you think they are vilifying the wealthy?
No, to me, Aaron, it's about what's going to work in practice. And it is true that we're in the midst of the most extreme winner-take-all economy in our nation's history, and we need big measures to help solve for that. But when France, Germany, Denmark, and Sweden all tried a wealth tax, they ended up repealing it because it had massive implementation problems and it did not generate anywhere near the revenue they'd hoped for. So if it hasn't worked in these other countries, I think it would not work here for some of the same reasons. To me, it's less about the emotions of certain people who are being called out. It's more about what's going to work in practice and how we can actually rebalance this economy and rewrite the rules so that it works for us.
Miguel Marquez was just in Wisconsin, and people here watching the program just heard his show, another key swing state, of course, which President Trump won in 2016. So Miguel was talking to them about what people there think about impeachment, and he spoke to a couple who owns a tavern. They say they are moderate conservatives. They both voted for third-party candidates in 2016. I want to play the exchange for you.
Can either of you see yourselves voting for a Democrat in 2020? And which one, if so? Boy, that was a pained
It
expression.
is pain. I will tell you, I love Andrew Yang.
Obviously, he's very smart.
Oh, and he's funny.
All right, so what do you do? What do you do to get people like that, moderate conservatives, again, is how they describe themselves, to support you?
Well, Aaron, I'm laser focused on solving the problems that got Donald Trump elected. And if they're working in a small business, they're seeing their foot traffic might be going down. Some of the businesses around them are closing. These are the problems that got Trump elected. And if we put money, buying power into the customers of that bar's hands, then you're going to see more business. They might have to hire more servers. I'm so glad that they're open to my message, and it's not just them. I've met with individually and seen on the road hundreds, even thousands of disaffected Trump voters who say they are excited about me and my campaign because it seems like I'm solutions oriented and I just want to try and improve Americans' lives.